What's up? It's me again, JunkMaster3, and this is going to be the top 10 of 1982. So these are like the 10, my 10 favorite horror films from the year 1982. So yeah, and like I said with the other videos, some of these are like in maybe not really an updated version. So maybe I shouldn't have done these videos yet, but these are like the ones that I have the most memory of and the ones that I decided to put on the list. And one of these films in this list, which is at number 4, I believe, yeah, is a film which I do know for certain that I have, but I just couldn't find it in the collection. I was like looking everywhere, and I was like, well, I can't find it. I know I have it somewhere, but I just don't know where. And I'm not sure if I'm showed it in my collection overview series or any of those videos. I think I'm pretty certain I have showed that. So, and I don't really understand why or how I could completely forgot where I put it. So yeah. Well, enough about that. Now let's continue with the top list. At number 10, we have a somewhat underrated film, in my opinion, called Swamp Thing. Of course, by Wes Craven. This really feels like a sort of an homage to the old Universal monsters in a way that felt like it could have been something like that, like an homage to the creature from the Black Lagoon or something like that. Um, and this also has Adrien Barbeau and David Hess is probably the most famous people in this. Of course, there are other really good actors in this one as well, but those are the ones that first came to mind when I saw the cover and everything else. But yeah, Swamp Thing. I think this is very underrated for a horror film in general, and I haven't seen the sequel yet, but I've heard just so many bad things about it. So yeah, might watch that movie someday. Either way. And then at number 9 we have the Spanish slasher film called Pieces. This is the Swedish edition of the film, or like the Swedish release. I had the Arrow release before, and I have to admit that the Arrow release has a much better and cooler artwork, even though I really like this cover art as well. But this is your typical slasher film, and this guy really kills people in really brutal ways, if I remember correctly. So very brutal and very violent for its time, I would say. And yeah, this came out in, well, of course, 1982. Oh, I just can't think today. Well, Pieces at number 9. At number 8 is this really feels very gritty and sleazy, and that's the reason why I really like it. And the movie is Basketcase. Most people probably already know about this film, and for those of you who don't know about this film, the less you know about the film, I would say the more you will like it. So yeah, Basketcase. The sequels are really wacko and really doesn't really feel like they're in the same series, but yeah, sort of they have the same characters from here and there. So yeah, but anyway, Basketcase, really entertaining, fun. So yeah, at number 8. And at number 7 is a film which I think is underrated, and I think more people should give a chance. And yeah, that movie is Superstition. Great, eerie, creepy, atmospheric horror film. And if I remember correctly, this had so really great like foggy scenes and mists. And the witch, I'm not gonna spoil it, but the witch like cackle or the laughing part really freaked me out the first time I watched this. And I have to admit, I mean, even though you don't really see that much in this film in general, and that's what really makes this film really great, if that makes any sense. So basically, less is more. That's like a pretty famous like quote, I believe, from somewhere. I can't really remember where, but yeah, Superstition at number 7. And then at number 6 we have Unhinged. I'm sorry, like you probably already know, I'm a big sucker for those early slashers, or like early 80s slashers. I mean slashers in general, but especially 80s slashers. And even though this had such a low budget, I realized that this movie only had a budget of $100,000, and that was really really low back in the day. And once again, sort of the same thing, like I said with the Basketcase. This feels very gritty and very nasty in a way. I don't really know how to describe it, but it really feels like if I remember correctly, this movie also had like a pretty bad picture quality. But I just think that adds to the atmosphere. I don't think you should watch some of these films in Blu-ray or higher definition, because I just think that takes away from the whole movie experience. So yeah, Unhinged. This is basically about 3 or 4 girls. They're about to go to a concert, but somewhere along the way, their car crash or something, and they sort of take refugee into this house. And in this house, there is like a family living there, and yeah, I'm not gonna spoil anything else. But Unhinged, great slasher film. Not great slasher film, but really entertaining slasher and atmospheric slasher for sure. So yeah, Unhinged at number 6. Now I can already see people like, whoa, you only put this at number 5, but yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. And I think the reason why this isn't higher up on the list is because now I can't remember why. Well, the reason why is because I've seen this movie so many times, and I sort of like feel like it's less good for each time, so it sort of doesn't have the same effect as it was the first time. While some of these other ones I can watch over and over again without being like bored, or being not bored but being disappointed. I still really love this film, don't get me wrong, I really love this film, so nothing against that. But the movie is Poltergeist, and I'm not too really sure if because this is apparently directed by Tobe Hooper, but some people claim it to be more of a Steven Spielberg film, because some people like behind the scenes said, well, Steven Spielberg had much more to do with this film than Tobe Hooper did, or then there are some people that say the opposite. But the sequels, though, are not really that good. I think I remember liking the part 3 much more than part 2, but this one is definitely the best out of the 3. And yeah, all of you already know about this film. So anyway, Poltergeist at number 5. Now here comes the film which I just couldn't find in the collection, but I know I have it. And the movie is The Entity. Basically about a woman that is like tormented by a ghost, sexually tormented by a ghost, which is really creepy because you don't really see any person, you don't hear like any like noises. You just see her acting. I mean, her acting is great in this film. This lead actress, I don't really know his name. I think it's Barbara Hershey. So yeah, now I really need to speed up a little bit here. Now number 3 and number 2 are probably films that you could say, is that really horror or not? But sort of horror elements to it. So yeah, at number 3 we have Class of 1984. I've talked about this movie for so many times. It's basically about this teacher who starts teaching music in this high school, I believe. And of course there are like different gangs in this school. I mean, this gang is just tearing up the entire school and just rules the school with basically threats against both other students and teachers. So it's basically up to this new teacher at school to take the law into his own hands, and by basically like wiping them out eventually. So, and this movie also has Roddy McDowall in it. I think always Roddy McDowall is a great actor. I think all of the films I've seen with him so far I've really liked. So yeah, Class of 1984, great film. Maybe not your typical horror film, but still some horror elements to it, I would say. So yeah, and then we have at number 2, Turkey Shoot, the Australian prison film, which has gore and action and everything combined. And I really love the whole isolated place that they basically take these prisoners out in the middle of nowhere and at this camp, and eventually there's like a new guy getting there, and he basically convinces other people like, you need to fight back against this tyranny, or this basically dictator at this camp named Thatcher, I believe. Or what's his name? Is his name Thatcher? I think this is also known as Blood Camp Thatcher in some places in the world, but there's a really funny like monkey guy in this, which just feels like he's just so out of place, but it just makes it more entertaining and hilarious, I would say. And yeah, I really love this film. Great gore, and from time to time as well. So yeah, Turkey Shoot, great film, number 2. And at number 1 comes to no surprise, I believe, for most of the people who watches this, but John Carpenter's The Thing. I don't really need to say anything else because everyone have already talked about this movie to death. Like, oh, it's a great movie, it's a great masterpiece. Oh, the acting is great, and the special effects are just marvelous. No, that was a really bad impression. That was not like mocking anyone. I just said that everyone have already talked so much about this film to death, so I don't really feel the need to do that to say, oh, it's a great film, because you already know that. Most people already know that. So, yeah, The Thing at number 1. Now, like I said, sorry I couldn't find the Entity in the collection. I know I have it somewhere, but yeah, that's how it goes. Sometimes I really need to get to search for it in the collection after this video. So yeah, hope everyone enjoyed and didn't get bored, and I hope to see you again as soon as possible. So see you next time. Bye bye.